finding something so impossibly advanced that scientists refused to believe their own eyes for over a century. This isn't science fiction, it's the incredible true story of a discovery that challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient intelligence and technology. In the spring of 1900, a bleak sponge diving crew was working the waters off the island of Antikythera when one of their divers, Elias Stadiatis, descended to what he expected to be an ordinary seabed. Instead, he found himself face to face with the decaying remains of an ancient Greek ship scattered across the rocky bottom 140 feet below the surface. Among the corroded bronze and marble statues was something extraordinary, a strange, barnacle-encrusted lump of bronze and wood that would ultimately revolutionize our understanding of the ancient world. The object was hauled to the surface and quickly transported to the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, where Greek scholar Spiridon Stais examined it with growing astonishment. As he carefully cleaned away centuries of marine growth and corrosion, a mechanism emerged that seemed absolutely impossible. A complex system of interlocking bronze gears, some no larger than a coin, fitted together with extraordinary precision. Stais immediately recognized what he was looking at, a machine. But the wreck was dated to around 65 BCE, nearly 2,000 years before anyone in Europe was supposed to have invented anything remotely similar. The scholarly world reacted with skepticism bordering on denial. How could such a sophisticated device exist in the ancient world? The working theory at the time was that the Greeks were philosophers and mathematicians, not engineers capable of precision manufacturing. Yet here was physical evidence that contradicted that assumption entirely. Many experts dismissed the device as either a crude astrolabe or a religious relic, insisting that a more complex interpretation was impossible. The artifact was photographed, cataloged, and essentially forgotten for decades as it sat in museum storage, too strange and contradictory to fit into the established narrative of technological progress. The breakthrough came in the 1950s when Yale physicist Derek Tisola Price became obsessed with the mystery. Using X-ray and gamma-ray imaging techniques that were cutting-edge for the time, Price was able to peer inside the corroded bronze exterior without destroying it. What he discovered inside was breathtaking. The device contained at least 30 bronze gears, each precisely cut with 223 teeth arranged to form ratios of stunning mathematical complexity. The gears were arranged in multiple layers, engineered to mesh together with tolerances that would have challenged Renaissance craftsmen, let alone ancient Greeks. Price was so startled by his findings that he initially couldn't believe the data his equipment was showing him. He subjected the object to repeated testing, using every analytical method available to him. The results were always the same. This was a functioning machine, an astronomical calculator of remarkable sophistication, designed to predict the movements of the moon and sun with extraordinary accuracy. Price hypothesized that the device was used to track the movements of the moon and sun with such precision that it could predict eclipses up to decades in advance. The mechanism came to be known as the Antikythera mechanism, named after the island where it was discovered. But what was it actually used for? Ancient texts provided crucial clues. Historical records mention that Archimedes, the legendary mathematician and engineer who lived only a century before the mechanism was lost, supposedly created a planetarium, a mechanical device showing the movements of the heavens. Could Archimedes have invented this technology? Some scholars believe the Antikythera device was either created by Archimedes himself or was based on his designs, representing the lost technological legacy of one of history's greatest minds. The sheer sophistication of the device couldn't be explained by accident or the work of a single gifted individual. To create such an instrument required not just mathematical genius, but also a well-established tradition of precision engineering and manufacturing. This meant that the Antikythera mechanism was likely not unique. It was probably one of several such devices created over time. But if advanced mechanical technology existed in the ancient world, where were the others? Why hadn't similar devices been discovered elsewhere? The answer became clear through a sobering historical analysis. The Roman conquest of Greece, followed by the fall of Rome itself and the collapse of classical civilization, had effectively erased this technological knowledge. When the Roman Empire fragmented, literacy declined, trade collapsed, and the infrastructure that supported such advanced engineering simply ceased to exist. The skills, tools, and knowledge required to manufacture precision gears vanished. The ancient world's technological sophistication was lost, and Western civilization essentially had to reinvent mechanical engineering over 1,000 years later. This realization sent shockwaves through the academic community. It meant that the accepted narrative of technology advancing in a linear fashion from primitive to advanced was fundamentally flawed. Human civilization had experienced technological leaps and reversals. We had reached heights of mechanical understanding in the ancient world and then completely lost it, slipping backward into ignorance. The mystery deepened when researchers began to understand the device's actual capabilities. Modern computer reconstructions created by contemporary engineers revealed that the Antikythera mechanism was essentially an ancient analog computer, a mechanical device that could compute complex mathematical calculations. It had input dials on the outside that could be set to known astronomical data, and on the back, multiple output dials would reveal predicted positions of celestial bodies. Some scholars have theorized it could predict lunar eclipses with an error margin of less than 1 hour, a remarkable achievement of precision. The full mechanism likely included around 37 gears, though corrosion and fragmentation have destroyed portions that presumably existed. Researchers used advanced 3D imaging and computer modeling to reconstruct what was missing. The final design proved to be a masterwork of mechanical engineering, with each gear perfectly calibrated to represent various cycles: the lunar month, the solar year, the metonic cycle, the Saros cycle, astronomical periods calculated by ancient mathematicians through centuries of patient observation. In 2005, a breakthrough came when researchers X-rayed the remaining fragments and discovered inscriptions carved directly into the bronze. These weren't decorative, they were instructions explaining how to use the device. The text, written in ancient Greek, described at least 27 separate astronomical phenomena that the device could track. Suddenly, the artifact wasn't just a mysterious machine, it was an instruction manual explaining its purpose and operation. What makes the Antikythera mechanism even more remarkable is its rarity and isolation. Nothing else like it has ever been discovered in the archaeological record. We have found thousands of Greek and Roman artifacts, pottery, tools, weapons, coins, buildings, but no other mechanical devices of comparable sophistication from that era. This suggests either that very few were ever made, or that their specific materials and design allowed them to survive where others decomposed, or that we simply haven't found them yet. The discovery forced historians and archaeologists to reconsider what they thought they knew about ancient capabilities. It suggested that the Greeks understood principles of mechanical engineering that wouldn't be formally documented in European texts until the Renaissance, more than 1,500 years later. It raised uncomfortable questions. What other technological knowledge did we lose? Were there other devices we haven't discovered? Did ancient civilizations possess capabilities that remain unknown because the artifacts didn't survive? For the average person interested in history, the Antikythera mechanism represents something profound and humbling. It proves that human intelligence and capability didn't follow a simple upward trajectory. Ancient peoples were not intellectually inferior to us. They were simply working with different tools, knowledge bases, and cultural priorities. When those conditions aligned, in this case, among a society of brilliant mathematicians, engineers, and astronomers, they could produce results that astonished the modern world and challenged our basic assumptions about technological progress. Today, the Antikythera mechanism remains on display at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, though researchers continue to study its remaining fragments using ever more sophisticated imaging techniques. Each new examination reveals additional details about its design and manufacture. The device stands as a testament to the lost heights of ancient civilization and a reminder that throughout history, knowledge gained can be knowledge lost. It is, in essence, humanity's oldest computer, a mechanical device sophisticated enough to compute astronomical phenomena, lost to the ages and rediscovered by accident in the depths of the Mediterranean Sea, waiting patiently for the modern world to finally understand what ancient hands had created so long ago.